So what we're going to do is make a mould of this to make a lamp. So the first thing we're actually going to do is glue some sticks to the back of it. So this is when we suspend it in the mould. It doesn't rise up, so we're going to put some weight on top of it, but obviously we don't want it to fall inside. So this is a 3D printed mould in vase mode, so it's hollow, no point wasting filament, and then it's actually coated with a couple of coats of varnish to sort of help smooth out some of the lines. This is a super glue activator, which will speed up the process of this. One there, one there, and the idea is that will sit inside this, and this is 3D printed as well, again coated with varnish on the inside, and that will sit in like that, and we'll fill that with resin silicone mould, or silicone rubber. That's that. So the silicone is a GP3481 RTV, and it's a mix of 10:1 ratio. So what I did earlier was I put this inside the container and filled it with the water, and it came out to about 200 ml. So we're going to mix up about 220 of this, which gives us enough leeway, cater for stuff that gets left stuck behind on the bowl and things. So it's a 10:1 ratio, so we're going to have 200 of this, which will give us 20 of that, which gives us like a total of about 220. So that should be enough to fill the mould. It's got a working time of about an hour, so we can mix up a little bit more if it gets desperate. So first off is put 200. And clean that off before we put the lid back on. And this is the hardener, the catalyst. It's coloured to give it, so you know when it's mixed basically. So we're going to put it's a 10:1 ratio, so it's a tenth of that. That's 200. So we're going to put 20 of this in. So that's now a total of 220. I'm going to get a pair of gloves for this, stop it getting on my hands. I'm going to mix this for a good 4 minutes. So let's set a timer for this. So the idea is to mix it, but try not to get too many air bubbles in it, really. So don't whisk it, just keep stirring it, and eventually it should go a uniform colour. That's it, is it? And this is the problem you get sometimes when these things don't set, is the fact that the it's not fully mixed. So this is only like about a minute and a half in, which still seems a while, but you can still see streaks of the catalyst, which means that it's not fully mixed. So like I say, the work time of this is 40 to 60 minutes, so you've got plenty of time with this one. And that's demold time about 12 to 24 hours. So I'm going to leave it in for at least 18. So that is getting pretty mixed. I think it's completely mixed, but we'll carry on till the bitter end. If you start getting cramp in your hand, that's it. See quite a few air bubbles slowly coming to the surface, so we haven't got a vacuum kettle, so we'll just have to do without. Now it's trying to pop up out of the mould, so we'll put a couple of weights on that to keep it in. Then carry on and pour the rest in. So we'll leave that now for about 18 hours and then we'll come back and demold it and see what's happened. So the mould's had a good 24 hours and I'm going to see about taking it apart now. Scalpel to help a bit of this. So let's see, got quite a few bubbles actually in there, which is a bit of a wasn't going to come out, was it? I'm going to think I'm going to have to destroy the outside of this. It was only in vase mode, so it's pretty thin. Do is run the hacksaw down this. With a bit of luck, I should be able to peel this apart. So the outside. Now try and do the same for the next layer in. Yeah, it's come off. So there you go, it came out quite well actually. So now the trick is whether or not this inside will come out. And I'm going to just trim this around the top, just so that it doesn't tear really. Now it's whether or not we can get that light element out. Some underhangs on it, but I'm hoping, or overhangs, I'm hoping the flexibility of this rubber will let it pop out. Well, that's the top half, or the bottom half, and let's see if we can get that. Yeah, there's quite an overhang in that, so I think that's going to. So what I'm thinking now is when we use this as a mould with the resin, we're going to have the same problem getting that out. So I'm going to cut this in half, and then we'll have two moulds. So think about that. Oh no, it does actually come out. Yeah, so that came out right eventually. So you can see there's quite a sizable overhang, but that came out. So I'm thinking when I do this with the resin, I should be okay. There's quite a few air bubbles in that, but that should be enough to get a resin mould out of. So, mould complete. Now we just need to pour some resin. So first of all, we'll this is like a pre-coloured resin, so we'll pour that into there. Will be quite accurate with this, really. It's that's one half. And one of the things actually I meant to put at the beginning is going to put some gloves on. You don't want to overexpose yourself to resins. They tend to have a lot of cumulative effect if you keep touching them. So Now one of the things you've really got to do with this is really give them a good mix. Quite a long pot time on this, so we're going to do it for give it a good 4 minutes on this one. And just keep mixing this. I think one of the problems I've had before with trying to get this to set properly is down to the mixing. It seems to be mixed quite early on, but you get like patches of resin that don't go off. There's not a lot you can do apart from put a second coat over the top, so mixing it is really important. So that's why I set myself like a target of 4 minutes. It's definitely going to be mixed at the end of that. So this is the resin they call topaz, which I'm hoping comes out as yellow, or at least a sort of a yellow amber. So it looks like a sort of an indicator light that's on a runway. I've also got a batch of like resin bought online from a mould craft, in fact. And this should sort of be able to be demolded in about 2 days, and then I'm going to try mixing up the Moldcraft resin again. I had a couple of failed attempts that still haven't gone off after about 3 or 4 days, and gave them some thorough mixing as well, so we'll have to see if it works better with sort of slightly larger volume perhaps. This Gedio stuff is sort of more from the hobby market side of things, so it seems to be a bit more forgiving in the way that it goes off, but of course it's more expensive. It's about twice the price. Actually, it might be even, yeah, it's twice the price for half as much, so work that one out. But it does go off, which if you're trying to cast resin is like the main point. So that's coming up for 4 minutes, and that's about as mixed as it's going to get. There's definitely no streaks in there. There's no wispy bits. Nothing that looks like it's not mixed. So you can start by putting a cushion of resin in the bottom of this. Not even warming up actually, so. And then I'm not going to put too much weight on it, but I'm just going to put enough to stop it riding up. And basically we're going to leave that for a couple of days and see what happens. So hopefully after sitting here for a couple of days, this is now hard. I tried some little test pieces in another mould, and they've completely gone off, so that kind of is like a indicate that this should be okay. That's certainly stuck on there. Pull it out of that. So we'll be able to get it out, and hopefully in one piece. I'm going to put some paper there in case it drops and chips. I kind of want to keep the mould to try and do another pull, but I might just cut it in the end to make sure I get this out in one piece. Oh, it's coming. That's a pretty damn fine lens. So might need a little bit of trimming along the bottom just to keep that, but that's not a bad first result.